everybody, welcome back to the show. Today I want to go over a quick, cheap, easy fix you can use to save yourself hundreds of dollars when it comes to concerns with your automatic temp control head. The most common concern these exhibit is a loss of control over the vent position. See, select floor and it just keeps coming out the vent. You select vent and it keeps coming out the floor. Or in most cases, you select any position and it just does not respond and keeps coming out to the defrost. Now what's happening is internally it's losing the vacuum the inside of there that is used to control the vacuum motors in the HVAC case there that direct the airflow to wherever you want to go. Now usually the fix for this is to take this thing and just replace it. The concern is internal, as most shops will tell you, a dealership, and the problem with that is that these control heads are between $500 and $700, no sweat. So what I'm going to show you today is how to fix the internal concern inside of here for about $1.07. You can get a bag of 10 O-rings, and we can fix the seals that are leaking inside of there with a half an hour's time and about $1.07. If certain size O-rings, these are silicone O-rings, they're going to last a long time, probably for the life of the vehicle, and you'll be set to go. I'll put links to it down below, but I want to go over each one of these. They're all basically the same. Now this doesn't apply to ones like this that are super shallow. You see how shallow this one is compared to this big honking unit like this. The big ones like this is that ones that have the vacuum control on the inside, and they also have the ports for it right here. Whereas these ones, you can see I have quite a collection here over the years. These ones just have two electrical connectors. They're found in the newer Expeditions, the Super Duties, and stuff like that. And these ones simply control the electronic side of things, so these ones do not apply. These ones, in case you don't know it, actually have a problem where the display on here just blanks out. Everything else might work on here. You turn the key off and you turn it back on and the display comes back on here and everything starts working again. That's another common issue that's common and it's internal to the head unit on these also, just as a side note. But today we're going to concentrate on the vacuum switching mechanism that's inside of these older units that have everything built into the one unit here. There's a reason why they went to a smaller, more compact unit and put the vacuum switching down by the box down there, because this is so common and it's so expensive. So I have a couple different models here today. This one was a 01 F-150, okay, has no floor control, could not put it down to the floor. This one is a no vacuum to motors at times, so that can happen also, and of course defaults to defrost. And then this one, which is the most common, was a Grand Marquis and defaults to floor only, it says. Or defrost and floor only. So you can see how it can fail in multiple different ways. If you have a vacuum concern, you need to look at this first and make sure that it's not leaking vacuum internally. Now there's a black vacuum line that goes into the back side of these. There's one port on here, okay? One port that's going to have a black vacuum line, and that's your source vacuum coming into work, and that's coming from the engine. So when you pull this thing out, just make sure with the engine running that black line is providing, 15, 20 inches of vacuum so the system can actually work. If it's not, this system is never going to be able to control any of the vacuum motors. So most likely you're going to have a concern internally, so let's go over to the bench and we're going to show you in detail exactly how to fix this quickly and easily. Okay, here we go, up close and personal. Now the basic tools you're going to need is a T20 bit driver or a screwdriver like this, okay? And a pick like this does help to get in there and take some of this apart. And we're definitely going to need a smaller needle nose pliers to get some of these tabs up and stuff like that. And of course, a whole package of O-rings like this, so we can change them out. So we'll start off from the back side here. Now this is your typical unit like this. You have your electrical connectors, connections right here, and then up top here you have your vacuum ports right there. It's two separate units inside of there, and so is the front housing on here. So you don't need to take any of that apart. You need to take apart just two T20 screws in the back side here. It's the only screws, so you can't mess that up. And once these come out, we'll put them off to the side so we don't lose them. They're special screws made just for plastic. You see the big, the coarse thread on there? That's made just for the plastic on there. So once that's apart, you're simply going to take the back side here, this is the vacuum control portion of it, and lift up, okay? So you're lifting up on that. Now up here, it simply hooks in. So you lift up, and then you wiggle it, and it falls right out of there. Now the only thing that's holding it to the main board inside of there is this one little connection right here. So a needle nose works good for that. I think your hand can fit in there just fine. You just give it a little wiggle and it'll come up and out of there. And then you can put this whole unit off to the side and just concentrate on this right here. Okay, so here's the guts of the unit right here, and each one of these is the vacuum control solenoids, and this is like the vacuum manifold tunnel right here and your ports in the back side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off this section from this plastic section. In order to do so, we need to take out, was it 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 Phillips head screws. So you can see there's 2 here, 2, 2, 2, 2. So take those out, get them out, and we'll get it loose from the housing on here. Okay, that. Now, this thing simply lifts up and off of here. Another piece we can get rid of. Okay, here we go. We're going to go through one of these on here, and I'll show you exactly how to do it, and you just follow the same procedure for each one of these. They're all exactly the same. Now, the easiest way that I found to separate these from the housing without ruining these tabs that hold it together is to pick up on these tabs right here, this one right here, okay, and straighten it out, okay? Same thing, both sides. Something like this, and that'll allow us to separate it from there. So once you have it like that, nice and straight, there is a little tab right here that locks it into the plastic housing. See, it's pick up like that, and you can see we're released from it. We're going to pull back a little bit, and the same thing on the other side. And then these, you just kind of give it a little bit of a wiggle. You don't need to disconnect anything back here. They got enough length in the wire, and you pull the whole thing out together, okay? Now there's going to be a spring in there and other pieces you see flew out of there already. I'll go through in detail how to put these back in there properly. So we'll take the spring and the spacer out of the way for right now, and we'll just concentrate on the solenoid itself and its seal. Now what we need to do is get this housing off of here, so we can leave these tabs angled down, no sweat, okay? We just need to work them out together and get them out of the housing on there. And it might be a little bit to do it, but once they're out, they're out. And that way we're not bending a bunch of different tabs on here. After that, you can simply get rid of this off to the side. Now, we're going to pull off this piece right here, which is the actual part of the solenoid inside of there that moves, and there's the O-ring on there. This part's just the coil, so that can just stay there. Now here's the seal. Now like I said, these are basically, they're like either they were O-rings and they're just really hard now, or they're more of a different kind of plastic on there. But you basically just take them off. Okay, there's only one groove on there. There's only one O-ring per. Let's see, we got that one right there. And you replace it with these new silicone O-rings. And the bag contains 10 of these O-rings on there. Put right there. It contains 10 of these O-rings, so you can easily fix a full control head for one bag of these on there. Now these ones, they have quite a bit of stretch to them, and they're going to fit in there a little bit better than the other ones, but these are the ones that everybody basically uses to fix this concern. So we're just going to roll it until it pops into there, into the groove. And just make sure that your O-ring is not rolled on there. I like to spin them, and then make sure they're not like twisted. Now what I'm going to do is put a real small amount of silicone lubricant on here. I mean a very small amount, just so it slides into there easier and seals up better. I'm actually going to use electrical grease from Motorcraft, just a real small amount. There we go. And at that point, it just goes back into there, okay? We got our two pieces on there, and that'll seal up on the inside of this tube inside of here. Now, going back in, this spring just goes back in the hole here, okay? And this spacer, you'll notice one side's deeper than the other one. See this side right here? This side goes towards the solenoid, okay? This side towards the solenoid. And this will allow it to fully seat on the tube on here. If you do it the other way, you'll find you cannot seat the solenoid back onto this plastic tube on here. Okay, so at this point, we can start assembling it back to the metal housing on here. You can put this in later. So I'll just start getting it back together on here and working it back into the holes and the tangs there, and then everything should basically come together. There we go. And then, getting off camera here, like I said, this goes this way, and that'll fit right in the very end down here. And you just kind of hold it together, okay? And then we'll go like this, and we'll line her up like so. And just give it a little wiggle. I can feel the O-ring seating in there now. And we'll just move it around, move this spacer right here around until it fits the grooves in the plastic housing. See me like that. Try to get it to line up on there. And eventually it'll slide right in like that. I mean, it'll slide all the way in. No sweat like that then. You can see right there. And then we'll just snap it back into these little nubs right here. And that'll lock into place. And then of course these, at this point, you can just push these back down by hand and they'll go flat on there. If you want, you can, do something like this with a channel locks, just so they're fully compressed down. But that's all there is to it. This one is fully all the way back together. You can see the wire routing is all exactly the same as before and all that stuff. So you just repeat the procedure for each one of these on here, and then we'll reassemble it. Okay, now once all the O-rings on here are changed out, everything's back together, it's right and tight, we can simply reassemble it back to our plate here. Just make sure you don't pinch any of the wiring, make sure it's all routed around the mounting holes on here. And this thing fits in here pretty precise on there, but it should basically fall back into place. At that point, we can go ahead and start putting our 10 screws back into there. Okay, so there it is, all back together, all 10 screws, everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and just reassemble it to the main board on here. Now, the only thing you got to do is line up the connector on here, which should have a memory to it already. And you simply go over, find the terminal on there, and push it in until it snaps, something like that. And then we'll go ahead, hook in the front here first, and then you simply lay it down on there, and these screw holes should line up on here for the T20 screws. So we'll go ahead and put those back into there. Like so, and it'll suck it to the back side here, the back panel, perfectly. Alright, so that's it. At this point, you can go ahead and take the unit over your vehicle and test it out. Just make sure you put all your connections in the correct spots and they're fully clicked in. And the same thing for the vacuum on there. Start the vehicle so you have vacuum once again, and we can go ahead and start testing out all different functions on here to make sure it actually corresponds to your position that you're picking on here. So this is a real common, easy fix for this, real cheap fix, and about 20 minutes of your time, and you can literally save boatloads of money. And this unit's pretty reliable otherwise, so it should be good for the rest of the life of the vehicle. Hopefully this helps.